There were so many times during this project that I just wanted to scrap it and make something else. Everything seemed to be going wrong. But this is the end. Let's go back to the beginning. The universe, as the people who live inside it know, is full of questions. Questions like, where does a thought go when it's forgotten? Did we invent math, or did we just discover it? What name has my dog given me? And the one most pressing for this project, how does a maker make when they're not in their shop? It's summer, which means I have a couple trips coming up, and even though I'm not gonna be in my shop, that itch, that desire to still be making something isn't gonna go away if I'm not here. And so to scratch that itch, so to speak, I wanna make a mini workbench that can fit inside a carry-on piece of luggage. And I wanna make it out of some of the scraps that I have on hand. I needed to know what my limitations would be, so I got my carry-on suitcase and I measured the interior. And then I started designing some ideas out in SketchUp before landing on this design. Originally, I had this idea of making the entire workbench just using hand tools, but for the sake of time, I decided to use power tools instead. This decision would come back to haunt me later. Raiding my scrap pile, I started milling down some ash, walnut, and cherry. I got to cutting the pieces I needed for the top of the workbench. I didn't have enough ash to make the entire top out of ash, and so I took 2 strips of cherry for the outside pieces. I also cut 2 chunky pieces to serve as the end cap pieces for the workbench. With all my pieces cut out, I got to marking the areas where I wanted threaded holes for wood screws. I drilled the holes out before gluing everything together to make tapping easier later. I then glued it all up. While the glue-ups dried, I decided to make some dowels. So I took some of the cherry pieces and laid them down to dowel size and let them soak in a jar of mineral oil.
1 day later.
Once soaked, I tried, unsuccessfully, to thread the dowels. After destroying both dowels, I got a maple dowel and I tried again. I again failed at making a functional screw, so I got another maple dowel. Failed again, and then got some more cherry dowels and kind of got the screws I was trying for. Needless to say, I needed a break from trying to make the wood screws. With the glue-ups dried, I cleaned them up and started tapping the holes that I had drilled. I then took the pieces to my router table to start cutting out the dovetail joints for the end cap pieces. So I just got the crap scared out of me. I got a router table that I inherited. And I was so excited to use, and I got it all set up, got the bit in, got everything adjusted, you know, my fence, all that kind of stuff, because I'm trying to cut dovetail grooves into this piece. But then, apparently, the bit started to come out of the router because it did that, and then it carved down further and further into the piece until the bit finally shot out of the router, and now I need to go change my pants. Retiring my router table, I switched to a palm router to finish routing out the dovetail joints. I assembled all of the benchtop pieces together, and once they were dried, I started cleaning them up. The next step was the feet. I routed the dovetails into the walnut blocks and started making the joints for the bench top. So there was a distinct top and bottom to this, and in my haste, I accidentally put the dovetail grooves on the top instead of the bottom. So now I need to resurface the bottom to look better now that it is the new top, because I just inadvertently made the top the bottom. Despite my better judgment, I decided to continue rather than scrapping this project, so I started working on the legs. I wanted to have a place to clamp the workbench to a desk or another surface, and so I marked and used my bandsaw to shape out the legs. The last thing I wanted to add to the workbench was some planing stops for the top of the workbench. I started by cutting the inserts. I can't win with this project. Something just caught and it gouged in there. So now I got that to try and fix. Oh man. The last thing I made was the screw handles for the wood screws. I messed that part up too, so I'm gonna spare you. Wanting this project to be done, I glued all the pieces together, put some finish on it, and in the end, I was left with this. This workbench has its reminders of where in the process things went wrong. But despite all of its imperfections, I like this little workbench. And I'm excited to have a piece of my shop to take with me on trips so I can make even when I'm not here. Just need to pack fewer clothes. Thanks for watching this video, and especially thank you to all of my patrons who help support projects like this. If you want to help me in that regard, you can head over to Patreon and support me there, or the best way to support me is to share this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you already haven't, because I got some pretty awesome projects coming down the pipeline. But until next time, go build a good story.